Okay, so tonight I'm going to do two things. I'm going to read Rabbi Alon Anava's section on Malchut Gevurah for Sefirat Omer, and then I'm going to jump in. This is actually probably going to be really good, so stay with it. I'm going to jump back into Tomer Devorah, because what the Ramak says in his chapter on Malchut, he actually ends it and he ties in Gevurah, and he ties in and ends with Tiferet, which is actually how this week goes. We go from the week of Gevurah, which now is Malchut Gevurah, into the week of Tiferet. So, and there's some interesting things there for it's different from what we're reading in here. So it's well worth it. So I'm going to read the whole thing. So we spent this week reflecting on our internal strength and how it lies hidden within us. It's a shame that most people go throughout their lives not knowing just how powerful they truly are. Most people don't discover their true inner strength until they reach the later stages of life. So it's important to recognize the strength as early as possible. No matter your age, everyone has a special talent or gift from Hashem that they are meant to share with the world. So whether it be gardening, carpentry, art, music, or writing, it is our duty to recognize the strength within ourselves, use it to benefit others. It's never too late to look deep within yourself and find your hidden gifts. So Malchut Gevurah teaches us that it is our responsibility to use our gifts to benefit others. And Malchut is like the kingdom or kingship, and Gevurah is the strength. So and this is referred to Kabbalistically as being Zer Anpin. So small. He's translating mini king, but it's like the small face. So everyone is the king in their own life in some way. So be it at home, work, school, or whatever. So as kings, people depend on us and need us to use this Gevurah in service of others so we can honor the gifts and talents Hashem gave us. So it doesn't matter if you're a big company president, best friend, a mother with 3 kids, or a father heading to work in the morning. If someone depends on you, you are already a king. Whether we acknowledge it or not, many people depend on us to give them charity, teach them, help them out, give them time, even smile at them. We all have a role to play in society. The more we do for others, the more meaningful our lives become. You may not realize it, but many people depend on you for support. They can be looking to you financially, emotionally, or physically. Even a small smile can make a world of difference. So don't forget the power and responsibility that comes with being depended on by others. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So some people may think that in order to have a major impact, they need to reach hundreds or thousands of people, but really it's about quality over quantity. A mentor, rabbi, or teacher can choose to focus on just 10 students and still make an incredibly profound impact by pouring in all their energy and focus. So on the other hand, someone else might try to direct their energy in multiple directions, affecting more people at once, but not necessarily making as deep of an impression. So this is Malchut of Gevurah. Being a king means more than just having a crown. It's about being a giver. Think of great kings in our history like Yosef HaTzadik or David HaMelech. They were mashbirim. They gave people sustenance, food, and more. So even Moshe Rabbeinu was a king, and not just because of his title, but because his entire essence was devoted to giving. So that's the kind of king we should strive to emulate, one who is focused on giving instead of taking. So when you have this responsibility, you're the king. This is Malchut. How do you apply that with Gevurah? Gevurah is the strength within you. Take, for example, a single mother who has to work full-time but also come home to take care of her kids, clean, bathe, and prepare meals. Her plate is overflowing, yet she doesn't break down because her children depend on her. That's what Gevurah means. Something inside her driving her to stay strong even in the face of adversity. So this is Malchut of Gevurah, being a king, or in her case, a queen, but it needs to be with strength. Why? Because these little neshamot, these are depending on her, these little kids. If she's weak, they will be affected. She has to stay strong and put on a smile when they look up at her. Sometimes you may be close to collapsing, but you still must muster up a smile for your kids in the morning and tell them, "Don't worry, honey, everything will be okay." They don't need to know about the problems at home. To provide for the needs of others, you need strength. So Hashem gave you the strength, and Malchut means that you are the one giving. So Malchut of Gevurah is the power to give something good to another person. In Lashon HaKodesh, it's even clearer. HaKoach Lahashpia tov lezulat, the power, energy, and ability to give something good to everyone, to someone else. It doesn't matter if this person is your spouse or a stranger in the street. Many people have a lot of love to give, but don't know how to do it. So a person can be an amazing individual, yet not know how to show their child genuine love. Why? Because maybe their opinions are old-fashioned, or they just don't know how to relate to the child. It's much easier to relate to someone who is like you, to be a mashpia, a giver. There's only one way of doing it. Lower yourself to the level of the receiver. So if you want to give something to your child, you can't stand tall and point a finger. You need to meet them eye to eye on their level in order to give them what they need. Malchut of Gevurah allows you to reveal your inner strength in order to give it to someone else. You become a king by being a giver like Yosef HaTzadik, Moshe Rabbeinu, and David HaMelech. To practice this, you must find your gift, talents, and strengths. If you don't know them yet, then go on a journey and find out. You don't need to be the best or most talented at something. Sometimes it can be something you don't even imagine. Your strength could be kindness, being creative, helping someone, or giving hope to another person, whatever it may be. Everyone has a gift. You just have to find it. You need to empower and nourish it until it becomes strong. Then bring it out to the surface and start using it for the good of others. If you have a talent and aren't using it for good, then Hashem will ask, what were you doing? I gave you an ability. Why aren't you doing anything with it? And it just reminds me of what was Zusha, Reb Zusha used to say. So he's like, I'm not scared, that when I die, they're gonna say, why weren't you like Moshe Rabbeinu? Or why weren't you like this greatest person over here? But heaven will say, why weren't you more like Zusha? Like, why weren't you who you were supposed to be? It's even worse when you use the ability for something negative. That's what many people do. They might have a sharp mind and use it to cheat in business and make money. But that's not why Hashem gave you wisdom. You could also be a genius programmer and build programs to help people or hack into systems and destroy things. It all depends on where you take that power. There's a concept in Hebrew called Ma'agal Hashpa'ah. The circle around us that is affected by our behavior. What we do has an effect on those around us. For instance, someone might be surrounded by their spouse, kids, and coworkers, but if they're constantly negative and miserable, it rubs off on everyone. It can even get to a point where the person become violent, screaming, punching, and pushing. It's not good for anyone involved. It just makes everything horrific. We must be careful as our actions and emotions affect those around us. For example, if we're upset, it doesn't mean that our spouse has to take the brunt of it. If we've had a bad day, it doesn't mean that our kids should suffer. If we're going through some kind of trouble, it doesn't mean that that somebody around us should be put down because of our problems. We all need to think about how our actions affect those around us. And it's interesting because there's all these different technologies now that it's like blowing people's minds. I wouldn't be surprised, if there's not the ability to have a device that sits in a room that could pick up a conversation that was there 30 minutes ago. Because whenever you speak, your words go and they go out into the world, and they're just waves, and they're bouncing off of everything, reverberating off of everything. The amplitude lessens, but the words that you speak stay there for eternity. They stay in this world for eternity. Every word you speak stays in this world for eternity. And it's going in, reverberating through all kinds of different things around us. And it seems like it disappears, but it never disappears. The amplitude reduces, but the words never disappear. It could be our spouse, parents, kids, neighbors, colleagues, anyone we come into contact with. Are we giving them what they need from us? Providing our kids with food and shelter doesn't necessarily mean that they have all they need. They might need attention, love, or someone to play with them. We ought to check in with ourselves and ask if we're doing enough for the people near us, not just searching for ways out of it. A practical exercise we can do is to take a look at those closest to us and ask ourselves if we're giving them what they need. Are we providing the support, attention, and love they deserve, or are we using excuses to shirk our responsibilities? Let's remember that every person in our lives, be it partner, parents, children, neighbors, or colleagues, deserves our time and attention. The interconnection between Yesod of Malchut is paramount. Kabbalistically, Yesod acts as a funnel connecting the divine energy from Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, and Hod, and spreading it to Malchut. It's like a basin in which divine energy flows and connects in order to be dispersed. This is how the foundation of Shefa, like this downflow of abundance, is established. Yesod receives the overflow of divine energy and passes it over to the receiver, Malchut. So once the connection is established, we need to nurture it and ensure it continues thriving. So how we nourish it is up to us. We must remember that our attention, care, and energy are what will help keep the bond strong. Understanding the connection between ourselves and others is not just about our relationships with our spouse or family. It can also be with a stranger we pass by every day or anyone we come in contact with. We must ensure that in any exchange of energy, we give without thinking about what we can get from the other person. Adding this equation of what's in it for me is a recipe for failure and should be avoided at all costs. So in any relationship, it is essential that we focus on giving from ourselves to others and not necessarily thinking about what we will gain in return. So we should not be disappointed if others do not give back, because we must focus on providing and caring for another person without expecting anything in return. This is how we can practically apply Malchut of Gevurah, and that's actually how Hashem operates. And if we emulate Hashem, then that same thing, that same process of you just do it because it needs to be done, rather than doing it because you need to have your ego caressed or you need someone to flatter you or something like that. So in any relationship, it is essential that we focus on giving from ourselves to others and not necessarily think about what we get in return. We should not be disappointed if others do not give back, because we must focus on providing and caring for another person without expecting anything in return. So this is how we can practically apply Malchut of Gevurah. Start looking at the relationships in your life. Choose ones and distant ones, and ask yourself, if you're giving everything that you can, be smart about it and know how much you can realistically give. And don't let yourself be drawn into situations where you're taking advantage of, being taken advantage of, or being taken advantage of, where you're taking advantage of or being taken advantage of. So unfortunately, sometimes people will say to themselves, I'm getting a good freebie here. Let me take advantage of that. So that's not right, and you definitely shouldn't let someone take advantage of your kindness like that. But outside of that, you should definitely focus on giving. So love without conditions, that's the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. So no expectations, no judgments, just love for your neighbor as you would for yourself. It's a big ask and can sometimes be hard to do, but it's an essential part of treating each other with respect and understanding. When it comes to showing love and doing good, we should ask ourselves how our actions impact another person's life. This is the goal of creation, be a giver, helping to make the world a better place for everyone. We may not always get what we want from the people we're giving to, but Hashem will take care of our needs. Our focus should always be on taking care of the needs of others first. That is Malchut Shebegvorah in its simplest form. We all have the capacity within us to become kings and queens by taking our own strengths and using them to give out of kindness. Neither David HaMelech nor Moshe Rabbeinu asked, what are you bringing me in return? A king simply gives without expecting anything in return. By acting this way, we can be the channels Hashem uses to bring goodness into the world. The more we give, the more we'll receive from Hashem. Our spiritual and emotional arsenals will be replenished when we focus on giving to others rather than holding back. So now, since the next day after this is the week of Tiferet, I'm gonna read about Malchut, because this is the connection. Malchut is the connection. So in the tree of life, you have Keter at the top and you have Malchut at the bottom. So crown and like kingdom. So basically every Keter is the Malchut of the one above it, and every Malchut is the Keter of the one below it. Okay, so these things are connected in this way, and just like crown and kingdom are associated, and then everything in between is like within that range. So I'm going to take, this is chapter 9 of Tomer Devorah. to humble oneself. So first of all, it is that the heart should not become proud with all that he has. He should always place himself as a poor person and stand before his creator like a destitute man who begs and implores. To accustom himself to this quality, even if he is wealthy, he should consider that nothing of all he possesses truly clings to him. He is abandoned and always needs the mercy of the creator, for he has nothing at all except the bread that he eats. He should subdue his heart and humble himself, especially at the time of his prayers, for this is a wondrous remedy. The opposite of this is stated in Devorah 8:14, and your heart will become haughty and you will forget. For external forgetfulness is found there. David practiced this quality greatly, saying in Tehillim 25:16, that Psalms, for I am alone and afflicted, for all the members of his household, each one must help himself. What are they all to him? Even his wife and children. What can they do for him when he stands in judgment before the Creator, or at the time of the departure of his soul? They will accompany him beyond his grave. What are they to him from the entrance of the grave onward? Therefore, he should humble and repair himself in the secret of this quality. So go into exile. The second quality explained in the Sefer HaZohar is exceedingly important. He should go from place to place for the sake of heaven. In this way, he becomes a chariot for the Shekhinah, who is in exile. He should imagine, I have gone into exile, and here my belongings are with me. What shall the honor of the Most High do? For the Shekhinah has gone into exile, and her vessels are not with her, having been lost on account of the exile. Therefore, he should minimize his belongings as much as he can, as it is written in Yirmiyahu, that's Jeremiah 46:19. Make for yourselves vessels of exile. He should subdue his heart in exile and bind himself to Torah, and then the Shekhinah is with him. He should make for himself a state of banishment, banishing himself from his comfortable home constantly, in the manner of that Rabbi Shimon and his colleagues would banish themselves and engage in Torah. How much more so if he wears out his feet going from place to place without horse or carriage? Of him it is said in Tehillim 146:5, his hope is in Hashem his God, which the Zohar explains is related to the word breaking, or shever, meaning that he breaks his body for the honor of the Most High. To fear Hashem. So another quality of Malchut, exceedingly important, the gateway to all service, is the fear of Hashem. All the mitzvot are connected to that. But fear of Hashem is not like being afraid of judgments and things like that. So listen, this fear is very susceptible to damage and to the entry of the external forces. For if one fears suffering, death, or Gehenna, this is fear of the external forces. Since all these taxes, put that on top of it, right? This fear of external forces, since all these actions stem from the external side, rather the essential fear is fear of Hashem. He should contemplate three things. The first is the greatness of the Creator over all that exists. Man fears the lion, the bear, the oppressor, the fire, the collapsing building. These are all merely minor agents, right? Why should he not fear the great king and let his dread be upon his face on account of his greatness? So he should say, how can a lowly man sin against such a great master? If a bear would devour him, yet the Holy One, blessed be he, bears the insult, should he for that reason not fear his awe and greatness? And that's what it's all about, is respecting the awe and greatness of Hashem. And it's not about fear of Hashem is not expecting that you're going to get crushed in the next moment. The second is when he contemplates that Hashem's supervision is constant, that he watches and observes him always. A servant fears his master constantly while in his presence, and man is always in the presence of the Creator, whose eye is open upon all his ways. He should fear and tremble. How can he see me neglecting his commandments? The third is that he is the root of all souls, and all souls are rooted in his Sefirot. The sinner damages his palace. Why should he not fear? How can the palace of the king be soiled by his evil deeds? The fourth, he should see that the damage of his deeds pushes the Shekhinah away from above. He should fear. How can I cause such great harm as to separate the king's desire from the queen? This fear, which is of this nature, is the fear that strengthens man toward the repair of this quality, and he is attached to it. So making the Shekhinah cling to him through his conduct with his wife. So furthermore, much care must man take upon himself to ensure that the Shekhinah clings to him and does not depart from him. As long as a man has not married a wife, the Shekhinah is certainly not with him at all, for the essence of the Shekhinah for man comes from the side of the feminine. Man stands between two feminine aspects. The lower physical woman who receives from him food, clothing, and marital relations, and the Shekhinah who stands above him to bless him with all of these so that he may give and continue to give to his covenantal wife. So this is like Tiferet, which stands between two feminine aspects. And that's the week that we're going into. The upper mother to bestow upon him all that is needed, and the lower mother to receive from him food, clothing, and marital relations. So Chesed, Din, and Rachamim, as is known. Kindness, judgment, and compassion. The Shekhinah will not come to him unless he resembles the supernal structure. And this is what this whole book is about, is emulating the Creator. Having the structure of the Sefirot, what they all mean and what they represent and their connections and everything, and how you act in your midot, your character traits in this world. There are times when man separates from his wife for one of three reasons. First, she is a nidah. So this is the monthly separation. The second, when he is engaged in Torah study and separates from her during the weekdays. The third, when he is traveling on the road and guards himself from sin. So during these times, the Shekhinah clings to him and is bound with him and does not leave him, so that he will not be abandoned and unpaired. Rather, he is always a complete person, male and female. Since the Shekhinah is united with him, he must take care that she does not depart from him. When traveling, he should be diligent and meritorious, praying the traveler's prayer and holding fast to Torah. As a matter of fact, Tefillat HaDerek. So if anytime you leave your town, there's a blessing for leaving your town and going out on the road. It's it's something to take up. I have a little thing in my visor, a little sticker I put up there. So it's always memorable to be there. But it's also, you can find it on the internet too. Like, just you simply pull up a YouTube video. It's actually on this YouTube video, I think. I have it in English, at least. I'm not sure if I have it in Hebrew. Anyway, praying the traveler's prayer and holding fast to the Torah. For through this, the Shekhinah, who is the guardian of the way, stands with him constantly as long as he is careful about sin and engages in Torah. So the Shekhinah goes with you in your travels. When you're away from your wife, the Shekhinah will be with you. So similarly, when his wife is in Nidah, the Shekhinah stands with him and he observes the laws of Nidah properly. Afterward, on the night of her purification, or on Shabbat Eve, or upon the return from the road, each of these is a time of obligatory marital relations. The Shekhinah is always open above to receive holy souls. His wife, too, should be visited at the proper time. In this way, the Shekhinah is always with him. So it is explained in the Zohar, Parshat Bereshit 49a. So the visitation of one's wife must specifically be at a time when the Shekhinah is in her place. That is, when she is between the two arms. However, in a time of communal distress, when the Shekhinah is not between the two arms, it is forbidden. This too was explained in the Tikkunim, Parshat Bereshit, Tikkun 69. It doesn't exactly mean between your arms. It's talking about the Sefirot. So to repair all the qualities and accept the yoke of mitzvot. So one who wishes to be united with the daughter of the king, so that she never departs from him, must first adorn herself with every kind of adornment and fine garment. And these are the repairs of all the qualities mentioned above. After he has repaired himself with her provisions, he should direct his intention to accept her upon himself while engaging in Torah and bearing the yoke of mitzvot, and the secret of the intention of union at all times. Immediately she is wedded to him and does not depart from him. So this is on condition that he purifies and sanctifies himself. After he is pure and holy, he should direct his intention to fulfill for her the obligations of food, clothing, and marital relations, the three things a man owes his wife. The first, to bestow upon her through all his deeds in abundance from the right, her sustenance. The second, to cover her from the side of Gevurah, which is this week that we're in, so that the external forces do not rule over her. There should be no aspect of the evil inclination in the performance of this mitzvot, of his mitzvot, such as performing them for bodily pleasure or for the expectation of imaginary honor and the like. For the evil inclination is present in that mitzvah, and she flees from it, for it is an exposure. He must cover the exposure and conceal it always, so that the external forces do not roll over her. How? All his deeds should be for the sake of heaven, without any portion for the evil inclination. Similarly, tefillin and tzitzit are great protections for her, so that the external forces do not rule over her, and he should be regular in wearing them. Shomer mitzvot means guarding your life. The third, to unite her with Tiferet. Again, that's next week, at the whole week, at the appointed time of the reciting the Shema, by establishing fixed times for Torah study. When he establishes an appointed time for each matter, he should direct his intention that this is the appointed time of the Shekhinah, the daughter of the king. There is an allusion to this in the Tikkunim. Okay, so in summary, Malchut demands humility. Man should always consider himself poor and dependent upon Hashem, regardless of the material wealth of his material wealth. And it just reminds me of this, like the tax season here. So like there's so much stress that goes into that. And like, hey, was this all done right? Like for some people it's easy. For some people that have their own business or have all kinds of different like expenses and things, like it gets like and you know, it's like, are you projecting, are you fearing like the government or the IRS or something like that? Like that, are you fearing that when that should be your awe? Like that control, you should giving that control over to Hashem, and that awe of Hashem should take its place, right? So you're kind of like, it's out of balance, right? You got to check yourself sometimes. So going through, get pulled over by the police, right, for speeding or something like that, you know, it's like, is there really supposed to be that much fear in a ticket or something like that? Or should your fear actually be in Hashem? All right. So going into voluntary exile for the sake of the Torah makes one chariot for the Shekhinah, who herself is in exile. Okay, so true fear of Hashem is not fear of punishment, which is external fear, but awe before his greatness, his constant supervision, and the awareness that sin damages his palace and separates the king from the queen. The Shekhinah accompanies a married man who conducts himself properly. She stands with him during his wife's separation period, during Torah study, and during travel, provided he guards himself from sin. So man stands between two feminine aspects, his physical wife below and the Shekhinah above. He must resemble the supernal structure of Tiferet between the upper and the lower mother. To keep the Shekhinah permanently attached, one must perfect all the qualities of the previous chapters, purify himself, and fulfill three obligations: sustenance, chesed, protection from evil, Gevurah, and dedicated times of union through Torah and the Shema, Tiferet. And what do we start out tomorrow is chesed of Tiferet. So, I had something else I was going to say, but I completely forgot what it is. So thanks for watching.